hello Airsofters alike. Today we're going to be doing a special episode on the Jesse Hill Airsoft Corner. It's going to be a little bit of a contrast between a past gun that I had bought and the new gun that came in the mail today, along with my Goblin that was in a previous episode. So let's just jump right into it. Today I'm going to be talking about the KAR98K, the German weapon that was used by the Wehrmacht primarily in World War II. Now, the one that I bought originally was the D-Boys version. Ugh. You want to talk about the worst piece of crap I ever owned. Man, I was always sitting there trying to baby it. Now, this is, of course, the shell ejector, the one that is very famous in the airsoft community for the one that gets lost a lot, quite frankly. Now, I'll show you one of them right here. This is the shell I'm talking about. It takes one little pellet in the tip, and like I said many times, I'm a realist. Now, a lot of the kids with sniper rifles running around today are going to have high cap mags or magazines that carry more than 20 rounds, which is completely baloney in the world of sniper rifles as far as I'm concerned. Yes, while there are some sniper rifles out there that do carry a lot of ammo in their magazines, it is not common, and it is not something that I personally see as a realistic sort of thing. I'm a mid-cap guy. Sometimes I'll use a high cap, but when it comes to like people arguing about realism, using this kind of stuff is about as real as it gets to owning the actual firearm. Now, let's just jump into the one that I bought. Now, S&T, which is the one that I ended up buying, other than the D-Boys, and let me just, hang on, before I get into that, I do have a warning. If you do buy the D-Boys, be sure that you take care of the bolt itself. The tip of the bolt can get exhausted, and there's a weld that connects it to the main bolt. Now, there's a spring behind it, and it's known as one of the most powerful springs, or hardest tension springs in the airsoft world. Over time, if you ratchet that the wrong way, which I allowed someone to borrow it during a big airsoft extravaganza I was hosting out at a friend's farm. Now, if it's ratcheted the improper way and pulled back, that weld can actually stress crack. And, of course, with all that tension behind it being cocked, or just being in rest mode, there's a lot of tension on that spring, and it caused the weld to actually snap, and as he pulled it out, fling all of the material and contents on the inside of the original D-Boys bolt that I had in my D-Boys pellet gun. I ended up giving to my little brothers and sisters so that they could play with it. Now, moving on to the packaging. Now, as you know, like most S&T guns, it's going to be plain, but they gave me a little sticker telling me what's going to be in it. Pretty decent cover art. Guy in a German helmet holding a carbine, so it is S&T. I'll just get into what was in the inside of the gun itself. Of course, it came with 5 regular shells, like this. When you are using these, I do recommend you use some lubricant, like silicone oil on the tip. That way it makes a better seal. In the D-Boys model, which I know is a lot weaker, and I know that gas is a lot stronger, but it will help compress. See, this is a miniature compressor shell. When the gas goes in, it has nowhere to go but just to the tip. If you add a little oil there in the lubricant, it creates a wet seal. And, of course, it goes without saying. Easily explained, self-explanatory. It also comes with a Chinglish map of the gun itself and a manual on how to operate it, and it's actually very good. It's very well made. It actually comes with pellets. Now, a lot of time when you buy a gun, the pellets suck. They have a lot of imperfections. These are dense. These are heavy. I know this sounds crazy, but I inspected all of these. These are good pellets. These are really, really, really good, and they're heavy as crap, dude. They feel like they got metal inside them. But these are good pellets. Do not throw these away. So I might have gotten lucky with the mispackaging. I'm not sure. I don't know. It may be just a fluke, or S&T is just being nice to us. But these are good pellets. They're very quality, so I recommend you actually use them for this gun because they're heavier. Now, the gun does chrono around 390 to 400 FPS, so it is perfectly allowable in the sniper rifle range. I don't recommend you take that and shoot somebody up close because it could leave a welt. That being said, make sure you keep track of the shells when they do eject because they will kick out like a regular gun would, and maybe you could jerry-rig a little mesh bag to hold them in, but it might get in the way. So if you guys can figure that out, please hit me up. That would be very interesting to see. Now, let's move on to the gun herself. Now, I did buy a scope, which was the wrong scope because it's set too high for the gun, and I figured out how to buy a scope mount for the gun, so that's why there is a scope mount on this gun. But it actually works as a pretty decent iron sight. As you can see, there's a little screw just barely up right there, and if you aim down the sights, it lines up perfectly. So I did not have to take this off. But when I did take off the spring by hitting out the little nail, I did find out that there was a spring underneath that was just barely in there. It's literally held in by weight. So I lost it. Ugh, I was pissed. Can't find it, so it's in here somewhere. Maybe one day I'll step on it and end up putting it back. But there is now a rail. Now, normally they would have a side rail where you could clip something onto, but I could not find that for the life of me anywhere. So I decided to buy a special, it's called AIM Sport, A capital I, capital M, Sport, and it's an AIM Sport rail. Now, some of them have a wider bore inside the spring where the leaf side goes, but this one had a very thin one. It was just a little rod that you can actually tamp out with a tack or something like that and a hammer. Gently, by the way. I found that it didn't work, and I was upset, but I figured out how to jerry-rig it. What I did was, instead of that small bore, what I did was I pressed it down since there's already a piece of metal that is like a spring under there. What I did was, geniusly, pushed it down all the way and pressed the tack through. What that did was create a spring where it wanted to push it up and off, but it keeps it on there due to pressure. Then I used the balancing coils that you use with the hex key, as you can see, barely in there. I tighten that down and tighten one up front, and then I use an extra long one to tighten it all the way down, and then compensated with a smaller one for that front one. So installing the front screw is going to be a little more complicated because it's a little further off the metal. So yeah, it's made of wood furniture. No plastic here. I just got I got tired of the plastic thing. It really works. The bolt really smooth, unlike the D-Boys famous. You gotta shove it in there and lock it down, and maybe you might get your palm pinched and something, blood blisters, pain. But yeah, it holds 5 rounds. This is a very smooth thing. I recommend you oil it with famous silicone lubricant, like I said before, or else you'll have to deal with yeah, that. I think I still have some gas in here. But she runs very well. The gun itself is very well constructed. The only problem I had, or grievance, was there was a little plastic piece right up here. It's like pretty much the only plastic piece. Little plastic rod that goes here and locks into this. This was loose and this actually fell out, so I had to put it back on. I recommend you just glue these together onto this because you're never really going to have to take it off anyway. The barrel is solid metal, and it's a strong metal, and it's covered in a fiber coat, which is actually very nice to the texture. Of course, you got the cleaning rod, which is screw-in, and really has no purpose at all because it's so short. The tip is a little different than on the D-Boys. The D-Boys was actually inside the barrel, and you can just gently pull it out. And you know how I hate the tips not being excessively take-offable. We'll just say that in my English. This one's actually glued on, of course, and it's not wanting to come off, so if you guys are movie reenactors, this would be a perfect gun for maybe a sniper or something. It's a beautiful rifle, but this is going to be a problem. Another neato thing is the hood sight. Really nice, yeah. So, one problem I did have was, of course, the scope. If I did, in fact, have a scope, I'd have to keep my head up like this, and it's very uncomfortable on my neck, because I have a very little neck. So, I ended up buying the wrong scope. I'm an idiot. So I ended up giving my dad for his M14, his real gun. And it was only $40, but it was worth it, considering. But yeah, it's got some markings on it. It's got some serial numbers. It's got that faux pseudo falcon on it. No swastika here to keep people from getting offended. But it's a decent gun. The hop up is actually below the sight, so if you do need to hop it up, make sure you don't put that on yet. It's once you get the rod that holds the spring in, make sure you have it over it so you can catch the spring that comes out, because I lost mine. But I don't think it's going to be of really any consequence to me, because you just aim and shoot with these sort of things. It's either hit or miss until you get good with it, and then you realize where the gun is and you get the true nature of it. It's kind of like having a girlfriend. You know what it does. But yeah, it's really similar to that. It's a full metal construct. The safety actually works, guys. Load it. It has to be loaded, by the way, for that to be engaged. So now it's on safety. Can't do anything. Put it on mid. Can still do it. And I can do all kinds of stuff like that, just like on the real gun. And fire mode. So yeah, she runs like a champ. She does well. Very impressive. Very impressive. Now, there's another plastic piece right here. It's called the guide. And it locks it in place and makes sure there's a button down there. That's not really a big deal. Had it on the D-Boys model. I don't know why they didn't change it over to steel or something like that, or aluminum. But they decided to keep that. It was never really any consequence to me. I just would have wished it was to be metal because it would seem as though it would be a better plan to go with. But overall, the gun shoots very true. She shoots pretty hot for CQB. So this, and besides, it's a long gun. I mean, that's only half the gun. It's halfway up my head. So yeah, I've got a good 1.5 foot of extra room. Not exactly the best little old CQB gun, but she does it right. The gun is gorgeous. Once you get used to it, she works well. This is the perfect sniper rifle. Here's the thing: when you buy a gun that ejects shells, most of them are going to be running $700. That's the crazy truth. If you go anywhere like Red Wolf, where they are extremely overpriced and sell plastic crap anyway, which I have a big deal with them. I can tell you that you're going to be spending $700 to $800 on a shell ejecting rifle outside of this right here. Now, that being said, the S&T offered a model that was both affordable and very durable, and offered the shell ejection. Like most sniper rifles, they'll have to offer that special shell, like in the Goblin Deuce episode. They'll have that special shell and you pay for them. D-Boys started making these dirt cheap, so it's only $10 for 5 shells, which is great. Considering. I have a buttload of them from my D-Boys rifle, so yeah. But this one ran about little less than $200. Of course, with coupons on ebike.com, you will be spending a little less than that, and that will your wallet will definitely thank you. And if you live in your parents' house, or you have a wife or a girlfriend that is upset with finances, she'll definitely thank you for at least trying to be cost effective, despite the fact you just bought a midlife crisis toy to play with your buddies. But anywho, the gun really works well. It's a whole lot of fun, and I heard that you can actually unscrew this and stuff little things in there, survival stuff. I mean, you're not going to take this hunting. I mean, so I don't see a point in it, but it's a really decent gun. She does function quite well in the cold. Like I said, it's been freezing cold down here. When I was talking about the Deuce, it's been freezing cold, below freezing, for days now. We're in a winter storm, so like I said, gas guns can suffer quite a bit in the cold, and their efficiency can be destroyed. Don't let that be a selling point, like, oh, we can't play in the winter, because not a lot of people play in the winter anyway. But overall, the gun works well. She's very accurate, and she stings like a bee. And I can say I'm starting to like the rail on it, because it just makes it look a little more streamlined. But it runs well. If you can find a better scope, please do. What I did was I bought a special ACOG, but it had clearance by about that much, and then the scope. So I actually had to, like I said, cock my head and look very uncomfortable. But for what you're getting with a shell ejection sniper rifle, you're paying a lot less than a lot of the leading competitors. Yes, it's not an L80, L896, or a Chetyak intervention, or some kind of police standard issue, but I mean, it's definitely cool. Like most people, like a lot of special bolt action people say, almost all bolt and action guns are modeled after the KAR98K, the Mosin Nagant and its variants, and the Springfield from the United States. So if you're going to say, oh, they're inefficient, you're using a bolt-action rifle. Remember, you're using a bolt-action rifle, so you have a lot of people with automatic weapons. So if you're going to be, if you're going to say it's inefficient, or you're going to say it's not really effective in combat, think again. Remember, you're racking a bolt every time you load, whether it's going to be a pellet or a full shell with a pellet in it. It's not going to really make much of a difference, except for maybe mag size. But then again, if you want to play with realism, and you are a gambling man, and you are going to be somebody who really wants to go with that realism as far as it can go, being legal, I would recommend this gun. It definitely hits hard, and I mean hard. It's very accurate right out of the box, and there's a lot of options for it that you can do, surprisingly. Like I said, I mean, I like the gun itself. I'm a World War II gun fan. If you haven't seen my other videos, please do. I have a couple World War II guns. But it runs well, it does the job, and it's a great sniper rifle. So for any of you guys that are looking for a decent one that ejects shells and has that realism, or even a movie maker, this would be a really good gun to have as a prop weapon, or just a good sniper rifle all around. While it may not have that maximum clip size like a lot of the other airsoft guns that everyone uses for realistic combat sim, I mean, this is as real as it gets. I mean, you're not a lot of the United States citizens anyway don't have those realistic high-end sniper rifles, so they're going to have this grandfather rifle sitting in their room that holds 5 rounds. So, I mean, honestly, it's a good urban training weapon, because not everybody's going to have a fully automatic weapon, let's say in a survival situation, but I'm not going to get into that. But, good gun, 5 stars. Alright guys, remember, whenever you go out and play, you carry a gun bag with your gun in it. Make sure that it's unloaded. Make sure if it's an AEG to have the battery outside of it. Also, remember to carry a gun condom on the tip of your gun to make sure that people know that you are not going to be firing it anytime soon. Also, remember to wear eye protection superior to glasses, like goggles or a face mask like I've shown in my other videos. Also, remember to have a face mask. Trust me, you do not want chipped teeth or a hole through the lip. It's very painful. Please remember, if you're not playing in a sanctioned area, to warn people around that are not sure what you are doing, that you are playing Airsoft, a combat simulation sport, because we don't want people calling the police on you. You guys, this is Jesse Hill signing off for another episode of the Jesse Hill Airsoft Corner. Have a safe time, have a lot of fun, and remember, it's a good sport, and I'm sure your other friends will love it too.